Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the 24th Rural Café. Our theme today is recruiting students into rural practice. My name's Amber, and I'll be chairing today's cafe. I'm a newly qualified doctor, so I'm an F1. I'm currently working in Llanelli in Wales, doing general medicine. My interest in rural stems from the fact that I've come from the Virgin Islands. And I was a student at Swansea University, which has a very strong family medicine rural focus, and I was a member of the rural and medical education in rural and remote health um, track, and very pleased to join you and see what strategies everyone's country has for recruiting students. So if we can go around and introduce ourselves, please.
Uh, can I start?
Yeah.
So my name is Mayara. I'm a recent graduate doctor from Brazil. And I'm still feeling that I need to say that I'm a medical student, but I'm not anymore. But I work a lot with rural seats, and I'm really interested in this dam because we need to think about bringing more people to rural areas. So hopefully, I think we will have a great discussion today.
Can I?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So I'm Karine Pous. I'm a medical student. I will finish in December. And I had some experience in rural areas, but here in Brazil, usually we don't have this during the graduate. So I think we need to talk more about that and try think how we can improve this with the students.
Okay.
My name is Gözde. I've just started. I'm a second year medical student, originally from Turkey and studying at Swansea University. I was interested in rural medicine because Turkey has, especially on the eastern side of Turkey, um, we have a different system in Turkey. Doctors they have a compulsory working schedule, but it's as if they like take a name out of a hat. So doctors are placed in rural areas, but all the doctors end up hating it, and they only spend very short amount of time there, and then they get back to the big cities. So eastern parts of Turkey have this huge problem, and I've been interested in a more social aspect. And similar thing is happening in Wales as well. So I'm interested in rural medicine for the, as I said, the social aspect of it.
Thank you. I suppose we're kind of preaching to the choir with our, because we're all people who have had exposure to rural, or who have sought a particular experience in rural. So if everyone can just share sort of how their med school got them interested in rural, or what their interest in rural started from, um, so we can get an idea. Maya, do you want to start?
Sure. I even know that exists rural health or like this specific area of family medicine until I went to Ireland, and then I find very occasionally I found a internship to do in the Connemara part of Ireland. I was there for under a Science Without Borders program, and then I was like mesmerized with everything and how the rural doc have the relationship with the patients and how it is different exposure to other kind of problems, the high rates of depression and all the things. And I was like, oh my god, this is a new world for me. And then I was like, okay, I'm coming back to Brazil, and I think as the size of Brazil, we should have more family medicine. Then I started to get in contact and discover more about Brazil, and then I just got in and falling in love about rural health and family medicine. So I got exposed to that by chance and not because of my curricula. And I think I'm trying to do my best to people don't being just exposed by chance, but that they have they could be exposed by chance, but they could also have it in the curriculum. So yeah, that's my story. And then I decided to do a backpacking through like 4 regions from Brazil. And then I did a backpacking just in rural areas, and it was very changing into like the experience and seeing different realities. And I experienced the draw, and it changed a lot of myself, having few other to work on the day by day and observing the doctors and everything. It was quite good and like a transforming experience. So this is what happened for me and how I discovered rural health. Maybe you can also share your story.
Yeah, thanks, Maya. Um, I suppose my story, it kind of happens in 2 parts. So obviously, growing up in the Virgin Islands, the island I live on is called Virgin Gorda. It's made up of 60 islands, but only 4 of them are inhabited. Only one has a hospital. It's not the one I live on. Family medicine for me wasn't family medicine. It was the only medicine. There was only a clinic. It's run by nurses. We have 2 doctors. As far as I knew, that was just medicine. That was my view of medicine. It wasn't until afterwards when I went to med school that I realized, oh no, that's the GP. Even though he's the only doctor, but he's the GP. And then I realized that actually Virgin Gorda, because of its size and because of the difficulty with getting to hospital, so you can only get to hospital either by air or by boat because it's an island. Then I realized actually we have a lot of the same problems that rural communities have. If I'm going abroad to study for med school, I need to pick a med school that will give me the tools to be able to deal with places where there's challenging access to health, allow me to develop the confidence to be able to make decisions when I am the only doctor around, have a really good family medicine focus so I stay really general, but also have a lot of emergency medicine skills. And when I got to Swansea, they offered this rural and remote health and medical education track, or RHYME. So I went to the meeting about that where they were discussing, the geography of Wales, which I still hadn't known at that point. What sort of placements happen, the benefits of RHYME, which were that you got sent to rural places. My very first placement was in a bit of Wales called Aberystwyth. It was really far out. It took 4 hours for us to drive there, hospital, but it was really rural. Like you got to feel how rural it was, but it felt a lot like the Virgin Islands. It was the same sense of community, of working together, of like really having to plan ahead because we don't have the same security as an urban area. On the wrong day of the week or after working hours, you really have to think ahead of what you're going to do, how you're going to get there. If you get there, how you're going to get back, who's going to go with you, who's going to look after your job or whatever. And I think everyone in the medical career has to sit down and think for a minute, is this the life that I'm for? And I thought of like my people back home, and I thought, you know what, if I'm not the person who's willing to do this for my family, then no one else will. So I stuck with rural. Like I was one of the crazy people that decided to pursue the rural dream. Karine, do you want to tell us your story?
Yeah, okay. So, I grew up in the capital, in Porto Alegre, a big city. But my grandparents are from rural areas. So when I was child, sometimes I went in rural areas, and so I always stay in this place. When I started the medical school, I didn't know about that there are some specific training for work in these areas. So in my second or third year, I think I went with a friend in Rural Wonka in Brazil. And so I realized I started like, what, there are some people discussing just about that, and people and doctors that work just about in these areas, and a specific training, and I was like, maybe I like that. So after that, my friend started to talk with Mayara, and so I started to talk with Mayara as well, and so we know more people around the world that uh, uh, work in places like that. I could spend 3 weeks in the rural area in Australia. I think it was my first experience in a little community. It was a small city. It was very, very nice. And so right now I am in rural area here in Brazil as well, in the same place that Mayara could spend some time, and I was just loving that. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Why I can't see this during my graduation, and why my friends can't see this? It's like I can't believe that if more people could see and could work here like me now, I could believe that more people not be interesting for work here as well, you know. So I don't know. I think it is just changing. Oh, it is funny because how I say before, I didn't know when I started the medical school about that, and now it's so clear and so obvious.
Thank you, Karine. And Andressa, would you like to introduce yourself to the group, please?
Um, Hi guys. Are you listening? Right. Sorry for the late. I was doing work and then the notebook didn't work, so it's my first time here. Really happy to be here. From Brazil, and I study in Vale do Taquari University, that is in the south of Brazil, in the same state as Mayara and Karine. And my college didn't have a rural curriculum, and this is um, kind of um, bad because here in Brazil we have huge rural areas, and here in Rio Grande do Sul, it is the state that I live now. But as my course is kind of new here in my university, um, I guess they didn't realize yet that this is a very important theme. And I'm here to listen and learn with you about your experiences. I have an experience in rural areas in these vacations, in summer vacations. That is summer for you, but here is winter, July. I went to Santarém, that is in the north region of Brazil. It's an Amazon region. It was really awesome there. I learned a lot, and I went to IT too. It was 3 years ago, and there are rural areas there too, and I experienced this. But I don't have um, how can I say, something like in the curriculum, some practical learnings at the graduation. Just these experiences from traveling, and now I'm reading a lot about rural health. I'm working with Mayara and Karine too in rural seeds, and I'm loving it. I'm really loving this. And um, that's for all. For now, that's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Goste, would you like to give us your input as well? We can't hear you.
Can hear, yeah,
Can you guys hear me now?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm quite new to the rural world as per se, so I knew more about it geopolitically in my country. And the last place I lived in Turkey was, or the last two before last was Istanbul, so it was quite a big city. And then I went to a smaller town. So I've never actually lived in the most rural places. I've just been interested in it in a more from a distance. And I also chose Swansea because of its strong rural roots, and I'm interested to find out more about it and what's unique that doctors need to have to be able to, like Amber was saying, being the only doctor within a large area where you might need to know more than what your normal expertise level would be for any other doctor with a certain specialty. So I'm interested to see the unique challenges to it. But I'm very new to it, so hopefully I'll learn a lot more from you guys' experiences.
And just I'm a little bit nosy. I think all people who are interested in family medicine are nosy. You have to be. Can you tell me about your trip to Haiti? That sounds very interesting.
Who?
I think Andressa.
Andressa.
Mm,
Oh, you're muted.
yeah, you should unmute.
Okay. But when I talked before, it was mute. Oh, no. Okay. Okay. Now, I'd like to know what am I supposed to say? What was the question before? I didn't listen, or
I was asking because you said
have to
before
reproduce it.
you took a trip to Haiti
Oh yeah,
to
yeah,
see some
yeah.
rural areas. So if you could tell us a bit about that trip.
Oh, okay, okay. Actually, I was not in graduation yet. I was studying to um, to enter in college, and in this trip, I made some groups works, just like storytelling and games. We but there was a medical group there. Were volunteers in this project, and we went there and we spent like 2 weeks, a week in Porto Príncipe, Port-au-Prince, that is the capital, and the other week was in Catcalen, that it was a remote region in Haiti near the Caribbean Sea. Um, Lots of mountains there, so it hasn't any medical support, and we went there to do these activities with kids. Like it was It was my part, and another other volunteers were in the medical stuff, and there were people there playing football with guys. So it was like a volunteer work, and I didn't even knew what was rural medicine or why it this is so important. But when I went there, I realized that those people didn't have the access to health that they needed. Actually, for arriving there, it was like an hour from the capital, and and we went by car. But there, I noticed that lots of family didn't have any transport, even bikes, and homes there, the houses there were really simple, made with wood and houses. But people were really nice for us, and someday I pretend to return. It was an amazing experience. Um, and now I have a different view from uh, comparing to the view that I had before. I know that rural places need um, access just as urban areas, and these places are different, and we have to train ourselves with some skills and abilities to work under those places. And but I really liked there as
All right, thank you very much. Mayara is having some computer trouble, so hopefully she'll join us again in a few minutes. Um, so our main topic today is about recruiting students. So cafe research, I found some literature that was showing that the number of doctors interested in rural was decreasing, and also the number of doctors who managed to get into rural, they weren't staying there, and it was there's kind of like a mass exodus of doctors from rural areas back into the urban areas. So I was wondering if you guys could share some ideas about the general attitude of medical students towards rural placements based on your own
mm,
experience.
can I?
Anyone can start.
Yes, I can start. Well, from my experience that I don't have so much experience, but I see that some of my friends if um, didn't know that rural areas are a place that need special attention. They just consider that every rural area um, is that is not good. Um, how can I say the places, the medical places are not good. They don't have the things that we have in urban areas, and because of this, I guess they didn't consider working and or studying on these places, studying health in these places. But um, there are places here in Brazil that the rural studies are stronger. I have a friend in the north, that in his college people, it's common. People go and to rural areas to do some trainings. But here in my school, it's people even imagine this. My friends have a kind of prejudice. I don't know why, but they have a kind of well, I guess they don't like rural areas, but maybe they just don't know. Maybe they need someone to explain that it's not a bad place. It's a different place and need attention just like the urban areas. And that's why I'm here, trying to make them know and making them realize that it's so important.
Thanks, Francesca. Karina, do you want to say something?
Okay. Sorry, it works? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Today I'm using my phone, so I'm a little confused about the things. I agree with Andressa. In my university, it is different from Andressa, and as well, people don't know about rural medicine. And it's funny because when talk about that, people look like, what are you doing? And why are you going for a rural area for your internship? Or what is this? And how you know about in the first time is strange for the other friends and students. But on the other hand, some students are from rural areas and go to capital for study because here, I think almost all the medical schools is in big cities. So we have some students from rural areas, and I saw in my university that when Bianca and I start to talk about that, some students start to talk about me and ask, "Oh, but how it works and how we can do things like that. I'm from rural areas as well, and I don't know that I can do this, and I don't know how it works in my city. So how I can do this kind of internship." So I saw these different. Of course, in few students, but some start to talk with me and Bianca and ask about that, and they say, "Oh, I want to do something like that as well. I didn't realize yet uh, that I can work in this area." So rural area. There are more two guys from Caxias, another city. And in this university, they needed to do rural internships. And the guys said me, "Oh, before I come here, I didn't realize that this can work and this can be interesting. I really like this internship. I really like this. So before I come here, I just didn't know that this works, you know." So I'm like Andressa, I want to stay here for think about how we can improve this in our universities. I'm finished now, but I I want to try incentivize my friends that are in the middle of the course for talk more about that and look more for this kind of internship.
Okay, thank you very much. Mayara, just to catch you up with what we're talking about, we are discussing the general attitude of medical students that we've come across or from our schools, their attitude towards rural placements. And would you like to comment?
Yeah, I can comment. It's just I think that the general an exposure and an exposure to even the knowledge create kind of a prejudice for the rural health as a whole, and even a prejudice to family medicine. And I think this lack of exposure is the main factor that people do not choose to go to rural. So hopefully, I think like with not just rural seats, but talking like with Karen and Andressa, getting exposure on the conference and getting exposure in some way until the university do not change. What can we change like as young professionals and as students, like what we can change now until like the bureaucracy and everything changes. So I think we are doing a lot, and at least I'm doing trying and struggling a lot to making people learn and know about rural health, and it's kind of working. Like uh, when I see like Andressa here and Karen and Paula and a lot of people like getting the rural flag here in Brazil, I think we are growing well and a lot. So
Okay, Ghosted, do you want to give your thoughts as well?
Yeah, I have actually a question for all of you guys because it's something I also struggle on a personal level sometimes when I think of rural medicine. As much as I'm interested in it in other deep areas, there are times when I think in a more selfish level about me, how I see my life. Do I want to be in an isolated environment? What about my socializing when I have to travel? You know, it adds on to all those parts. Are you guys completely selfless where you're thinking of this is not a sacrifice for you guys at all? Or does it come easily? Or you just accept this is a sacrifice, you make it, or do you just dip in and out of the urban areas whenever you guys feel like it? Is this how you balance it? How do you tackle that part? Because this is the part I struggle with.
I can add something. Mayara, do you want to go instead?
you can go. You can go
Okay.
first.
So it's like I said in the beginning, my interest in rural, like it's exactly as you said, you have some elements of isolation as well as professional isolation because you might not be able to access conferences and things like that. You won't have the same academic support if you want to do research or publish things as the urban areas. But whenever I think about the career that I want to have, I always think of my grandparents because my grandmother has like since I was I don't know, 18, been telling me like, oh, you're going to be the family doctor and take care of me. And I always think if I'm not going to do that for my grandmother, then who else will? So that's kind of my motivation. So I mean, yes, I'm not completely selfless. I mean, that's the reason why I'm in the UK. I know that coming to the UK, it gives me the opportunity to travel and to see other things, to explore other avenues. But I'm aware that this is only for a short time. I've chosen to make it for a short time. I do want to spend the rest of my career back home, but I want to go back home and be useful. So I'm doing what I can now to collect all the experience and all the academic things that I need before I go back there. And I'll share a little story about my when I went on elective. So the doctor that I was working with is called Federico. And when I came to Brazil on my elective, he was leaving to go to Sao Paulo, one of the big cities. He lives in a small area in the north called Alter do Chão. And he was telling me about the same frustration that you're expressing. He loves out there, he wants to stay there, he loved the community, he loved his job, but the education system in the rural area wasn't as good as the city, and he had two young children, and work wasn't always stable. So his wife and two children went to Sao Paulo, and he stayed in Alter, but the being separated from his family wasn't good at all, and traveling back and forth was very stressful. And he was telling me either way, it was almost like there was no perfect fit. And that's just something you have to live with. You go every step and reassess the situation and do what you can, but you don't jeopardize your happiness or your health or your family for a rural community, because you have to trust that there will be someone there. You can't do everything on your own.
Yeah, just to complement Amber Ghost, I think like of course there is. I'm not like selfless. I think I just a dreamer. Actually, like I want to. I know there is a an isolation. I'm aware of it. Also, I'm quite aware, like for my family. But what I did on the process when I discovered rural health and start to realize that I would be a rural doctor, I prepared my family, and then they have like plans to visit and get near of me. So I think this is one of the strategies. And also like we have like in Brazil now, kind of the universities are we're trying to go to the countryside. We have the example of Roger Stresser in Canada, that he created a rural medical course in a rural area in there. So like if we can get support from each other, like in rural cafes and even the mentor mentee project that we are trying to run now, I think with time we will be able to grow and understand better what is going and how we can don't be so stressed and everything. Once I was talking with Bruce, and he said that when someone from his family was sick, he went there and said, "Okay, I'm the doctor and I need to do this." So then he went to the surgery, sit down, and like said, he didn't did the consultancy at his home. He did at the surgery because he knows that he would like have a bias for that. But even with all these things, like even knowing that you can have a bias of carrying your own family and even the isolation, I think the challenge of carrying half of the world, because half of the world's rural is still being more bigger in my mind than the day by day challenge. So, and being creative of how to deal with this, I think this is one of the most important things, like this creativity that you need to be a rural doctor and the close relationship. I think you can see it in a bad perspective, but it has like a good perspective as well. I was in Ireland, and sometimes like the doctor have like some quite funny conversations on the supermarket, and it was like just funny to see how they works and everything. So I think it is things that we need to learn to deal, and I think it is an important choice. And what you are thinking, it need to be thinking when you choose to be a rural doctor. So yeah, I'm not sure if it answered like well, but
Thanks, Mayara. Karina, do you want to say something?
Yeah. Uh, and I think another thing, of course, the rural doctor, it is different from be a doctor in the urban areas. There are more things, more different things than isolation. But for example, here in Brazil, we have a lot of different kind of rural areas. For example, the rural area that I am now uh, in Nova Petrópolis. It is about 20 minutes from the big city with all the things, a touristic city. So in 20 minutes, I go for a place, a isolate place with people from Germany colonization. Some people talk just in Germany. They have a different life. a rural life, and in 20 minutes I go to a big city. So this doctor is in this community for 14 years, and he is a rural doctor, but he is close to a big center if he want to go a big center. So it depends. You can choose be a rural doctor and choose stay near centers or some kind like that. When this doctor finished the medical school, he went to Amazonia as well and spent the 6 months work with indigenous community. So of course this experience was more isolated and was different, was another culture, another language. In this experience, first the indigenous population consult the indigenous guy that know about medicine, and if they didn't work, so the indigenous went to a doctor and talk with the doctor. So was very very different. So uh, I think we can choose how situation is better for us, you know. I don't know if for me this situation will be nice or not. I can try. I can try go for a place in Amazonia and see if this is good for me or not. But I can as well work in a rural area near a big city and not be so isolated. So I think it's like Mayara said, there are both sides, you know, there are good things and there are bad things. I think you need to see what is better for us. I know how is work in urban area. I know how is live in Porto Alegre, my city, the capital of my state, and I realized that I live in a big city for all my life. You know, I prefer the day, the routine in a small city. I don't know how small I want, but I know I don't want to live in the capital. I think I just will see where I want to stay when I start to work in these places and see, oh, this is good for me or not. So is it.
Okay, thank you. And Dressa, did you get to give your thoughts as well?
Can you repeat, Amber? I think it broke it.
I was asking Andressa, would you like to share your thoughts as well?
It's broken. The oh. Um, I don't know. Can you repeat the question? I didn't listen well.
So Guzman was asking how we make the choice to work in rural areas despite all of the difficulty with being isolated, with maybe
Oh,
not having such a good social life, and being far away from family. So she was asking balance between knowing that and still choosing to work in a rural area.
well, okay. I guess that is multifactorial choice because you have to think about um, people living there to make here in Brazil we call longitudinalidade. That is when you take care of people and population in a long term care, you know, since the beginning until the end, since a baby until the death. and you have you have to think about this before going to a rural area, because you can just simply, oh, I'm tired of this population, I'm tired of this these people, and so I will go to another place. I guess that we have to think about this, because um, people there need the this kind of healthcare. That's that's a problem here in Brazil, because here we have um, professionals working like 10 hours. For example, four doctors working 10 hours each in 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 a community. Then you have people that change a lot. You have changing doctors in that place, and I guess that this um, affects the work in the in the community. You have to be there since the beginning until the end. For example, more hours. Lots of professionals with 2 hours each or 10 hours each. That now it's the frame of rural work in some places. You have professionals that live in another place and go there just to work few hours and then go back. And for me, I think that if you don't like to work in that population, um, don't pretend that you work just for the money, um, just for 10 2 hours in there and then go back. I guess that you have to straighten your laces with that, but with the people, with the population. So you have to think about this before going to that place. For example, um, I went to okay, um, Amazon region in July, and I saw in the group that I went, they 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 had gone in the year before, and people there just remember the face of each one that went the year before. So it's very amazing to know that people build with you a relationship, and we have to consider that. We have to be um, sensitive to know that people there will um, establish a relationship with you different from people in urban centers. For example, people in urban centers, they have more access. For example, I don't know if this is correct, but um, sometimes relationships between doctors and patients in urban areas are more superficial. People go and have the attending and go back, but in rural areas, they just consider your opinion, consider, of course, maybe I don't know if this is right, but it's what I saw in my trip. So uh, there's the cultural competence also, and I have I know, I guess that you have to be prepared to know that you will establish a relation with those people, with those community, and and this is an aspect really important in the work on rural areas. So I guess that I would work in a rural area. Just like Aline said, you have to balance the pros and cons. You have family, you have the facilities that urban areas can bring you. You are in an area that is just 20 minutes from the urban center. It's different from a community that is 3 or 4 hours on boat to another. But I guess that we have to try try to try to like not try to like, but try the work. Maybe you just like that. Maybe it's kind of different in the beginning, but then you like after, um, and then you love what you do. You know, I guess people sometimes are afraid of what can happen, or afraid of different disease, or I don't know, um, afraid. I don't know, but I have that we should take a chance. We should try, and I guess that is it's all.
Thanks, Andressa. Mayara, do you want to add something?
Yeah. I just want to comment on the last comment on Andressa, that we need to, I think, to be afraid is a good part. Like when you are afraid, when you fear things, you can do a great job. So I think it's part of being a rural doctor that sometimes you will feel fear, and but it is also part of, like, I think it's much more full of joy part that you feel on the day by day. And what is a great problem in Brazil is that some students graduate and then they get experience in a rural area, work for a year, and then leave the community. I think it was this that Universal was saying on the beginning. And I think this is because there is a lack of knowledge. It's a government problem as well. It is a whole picture that we need to think about. But if we don't have the people that think out of the box and try to go rural because they like and will fight and struggle on the day by day like we are doing, because it's not the fashion part of medicine. If, like, people want to be surgeons or neurosurgeons, and it's not in the fashion day by day being a rural doctor, but hopefully with time being more with your patients and improving your relationships and getting to know people will be more important than, not that it will be more important, but as much as being a good surgeon or other specialties. I think the rural family medicine has a great potential, and we need to make it fashion as well. But being aware that we need we are doing a choice for half of the world. The projections of the World Bank is that we'll have a lack of 30 or 40 millions of professionals to work in the near future in health, and most of it will be in countries with low income, very low income, or low and middle income. And they plan that for low income very low income and low and middle income countries, we will have a lack of 18 million of health professionals. So what it means that today we are mostly graduating to work in a developed world, and where we have more the economic world, and we are not graduating to work for what in the place that is in real need. So we need to change our mentality, and try to do the resistance and joy, have find our joy to recruit more students and future rural doctors for work. So I think this is my comment.
Thank you. Kadile, do you want to speak now?
Yeah, I agree with Mayara. I think here in Brazil, how Mayara said, is not fashion be a rural GP. It is not fashion as well be a GP. So I think the problem starts in that. In my class now, we'll finish 92 medical in the end of the year, and about 5, I think, will be a family doctor. And this is too much because in beginning I think it was just I and one more. So this is a problem in that 5 just me think about rural. It's not fashion. We don't talk about that during the graduation. Now I think in my university it is changed a little because we started 2 years ago with a medical students league about family medicine, and we are very strong now. There are a lot of students participating and join the activities every week. And we have a good teachers now, GP teachers now. And so the students in the beginning of the medical school now are think about family doctor and think about the GP. So I think this we are changing, but now we need to change about the rural. You know, we are changing about the GP, but now we need change about the rural. We need to change about okay, GP is nice, but GP can work in rural areas, and this is very different. And in some countries, they have special training for this. Here in Brazil, not yet, but in Australia, for example, they have a special training for this. So it's this a reality, and it's an area that we need to start to work more and prepare people for work in this area. So I think this is my comment.
Thank you. Gilda, I hope we answered your question. As Mayra said in our little chat, that the best way to see what it would be like would be to do a rural placement. When I went to Arte Michel, Dr. Freche, the difference between him and a lot of the other doctors was that he actually lived inside of the community. So his house was, I think, 10 minutes walking from the health center. And his neighbor, who became a very good friend of mine, was telling me the good thing about living in the community is that you really live like the community. So whenever they didn't have electricity, I didn't have it either. If the rain flooded someone's house, it flooded mine too. When the wind knocked trees over, it knocked on the house I was staying in as well. And then you totally understand how people feel and how their illness will affect their day-to-day life. So yeah, the best thing to do would be to try a rural experience. Ask yourself, can I picture myself doing this all day, every day, and balancing whatever else I want to do with it? How will I, cope with the modifications? The thing about rural is that the best way to do it is to try. Cafe is about recruiting med students because, as we've all discussed today, a lot of it is based on what people think rural is like. They think rural is going to be working with an old doctor sitting in an old office, not doing anything, talking about farming, and nothing very exciting. So, as Mayara said, it's up to us to kind of show people that is not all that rural is, that there is still a very active and alive area of general practice and family medicine. So the next question I wanted to ask you guys was, so how do you think we can encourage medical students to at least try rural, even if it's not something they considered before? How can we get them to try it?
I can start. I think like sharing our stories, and I think this is one of the most important things. Like I went to a rural area and it was really nice. I think like when stories are data with soul, so as we can share our stories, we can try to touch people's heart and try to learn together and showing what we learned and lived. So I think this is the great part of it. So I really think that we need to change our point of views on sharing stories. This is one of the points. And people participating on the rural cafes and all that we are doing, it's kind of changing point life and everything. So this is one of ideas that I have like with rural seeds and everything. Well, I think goes.
Yeah.
Um, it may sound a little bit evil almost, but give it to my Turkish politically incorrect self. But sometimes I believe that this like really nice softly approach, like Amber, what you were saying at the beginning, it was I can't remember what the saying was, but it's like, preaching to ourselves. So I think places like Rural Cafe is amazingly interesting, but it's already interesting to people who are interested in rural medicine. Or when you tell your stories, the people who listen to you are people who are interested in rural medicine or a little bit interested in your stories. I personally think almost making it the compulsory element of any kind of medical education. So the guys in London who go to Imperial College, for example, if they had just one module set in a rural setting, it out of 100 people, if it wasn't compulsory, maybe 99 of them would never even consider it. But out of 100 people, maybe 10 people might actually surprisingly enjoy it and then decide to delve into it more because they've been exposed to it. So I think if it was part of the actual medical curriculum all across the world, it could be a better exposure than, as I said, the softly approach. But I'm not sure. As I said, maybe it's a little harsh.
Angela, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the speaking about the stories, went here in my city to talk with some people. Actually, um, it was a select group that liked, enjoyed family medicine, but I guess some students were there just for the certificate, and they could listen to rural stories, and some of them uh, really really enjoyed. So I guess that sharing these stories are a kind of a transforming event. Um, for example, my parents and my relatives, they don't know. They didn't know about what was rural medicine and even family medicine. But then I started to share with them some stories, some topics, and also my friends that like surgery or something that isn't closer to rural. And I started to talk, discuss in the classroom sometimes about this, and it's not a big revolution. It's, I guess, that you can spread the word in your environment, in your small environment, in the places where you chat, and the places where you live. And maybe the curriculum, it would be better, because when I guess that when students are, how can I say, obligated, I don't know how to say this, to do something, um, they do. They can't complain, but they do. And mm, obligating someone to do a rural um, train, I guess that it would change in a huge impact, in a huge way, because um, they would have to do this. They would have to see, for example, some of my friends in the first year of course, they just hate so much um, family medicine because of the genogram. Um, I don't know if the word is this in English. Genogram. They Everyone had to do a genogram. It's like searching the families that in your community, and they just hate that. Oh, genogram! I hate family medicine. But then now I'm in the fourth year. Another professor asked to do a genogram, and they didn't complain. They just, oh, we we have done that. I guess we know how to do. So first they obligated, and then they are doing kind of normal. They are seeing the genogram kind of, okay, we have to do this. Well, maybe that's not, it's a strong word, obligate someone to do, but something I guess that we have to do, we have to experience. As they obligate us to do surgery curriculum, I guess they should offer rural, or I don't know. It's really important. As Mayada said, half of the world is rural, so um, we can just ignore it. We can't. And yes, that's all.
Yeah, I totally agree with you about the obligatory thing because, yes, okay, there is an element of choice in medical school, but like, for example, the university I'm at, they are very encouraging med students to reflect. So every single thing you do, you have to reflect on it. Every piece of work that they do, they ask you, how did you feel doing this work? What were your thoughts? How did it change your practice? Everything you do. And they ask you to identify places of improvement and whatever. And in the beginning, everybody hated it. Absolutely everybody hated it. It was like, oh, something else to do. We're trying to do all of this work, and now you're giving us this nonsense to write about that doesn't have any certificates or any grade attached to it. Why are you making us do this? But it wasn't until I got to my third year and I started reading some of my reflections from the first and second year, and then you realize that, oh, actually, this was a really good skill, and I'm really happy that they taught me to do this. It's the same way with rural. Like, okay, you might not like rural, you might be one of these very um people who love comfort, very delicate person. You like your comfort, you like electricity, you like to live a nice, easy life, but you can't enter into the medical world without understanding that important because of this reason, or um that, as Mayara said, half the world is living in a rural situation. What does that even mean? You can't go your entire career not understanding that there is a difference. I'm not saying that everyone has to become an expert in rural, but you need to be able to understand that there's a difference between the healthcare and access and services available in different areas. And I think that will make you a better physician in the end anyway. But I really liked the project that Andressa was talking about, the genogram. It was very similar with my university. A lot of our coursework, everyone hated it. We got, for our final year, we have in our penultimate and ultimate year, you have to do a final year project, and you get to pick whatever you want to do this project on. It's completely up to you what you pick. You can do anything that you like. So I did um, a research project using augmented reality, and the hope of the project is that it will help improve patient communication. And it was focusing on fractures, but I started thinking, okay, in a rural setting, if you have a healthcare center with a internet hub, then if there is no specialist available, you can use augmented reality to kind of get a remote health access. And I was like, yeah, this is going to be the future of family medicine, like augmented reality and virtual reality. And all of my friends were like, wow, you really like your project. I'm like, yes, of course I like my project. Like you got to pick it. Like just because it's optional doesn't mean, it has to be, no, but just because it's compulsory doesn't mean you have to hate it. You can pick something that you like and make it fun. But never mind. But it goes back to what Mayara was saying about creativity. When you in a rural place, you have to be creative and you have to own your career in a sense. You have to be able to say, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. I'm going to shape my career accordingly. So I think we're coming near to the end, so I'll just ask one more question. This is more for general advice. So what advice would you give to your younger med student, pre-med school self about rural medicine, knowing what you know now? Okay. Go ahead, Kanine.
Okay. About advisement. It is difficult, this question. So I think work in rural area can be a challenge because it is different. It is different that we are adapted in urban area. Sometimes we need know more things, no more procedures, no more things that we need solve alone. And how Mayara said, we need to be very creative. But I think, in another hand, it is very nice because you can see the results. You can see the results in community. Little things that you can do, you can see the changes in the community, then the improve, and what is happen, what is help the community or not. So I think can be difficult, can be a challenge, but can be very nice in another hand as well. So I agree if people can see this in the curriculum, can be very nice. But how Mayara said, if the government don't change, we need to change in some. So I think uh, if we can share our experience, if we can create spaces like Rural Café for discuss about that and show for another students, we can start do these changes. Uh, so I think is it. And sorry guys, but I really need to go now. And so I want to say goodbye. And thank you
It's
for
okay,
this time.
Karini.
It was very, very nice. Okay.
Thank you so much for
Bye
joining and that
bye.
you did have. Bye bye.
Yeah, it was very nice. Bye.
Okay, anyone else want to answer the question?
Yes, I will just comment on the question that try to have a rural experience for like in the summer vacations, or if you can have in your curriculum, but don't say no if you do not know it well, and please do in a place that you have a good reference, that you have a good doctor, that you have a good practice, that you know that is already established. Because if you had a bad experience in a place that is not working well, you probably say no, it's not for me. But you need to think in different perspectives, and check that you can have a good experience. And I think like, and even you don't need to be a real doctor, but you need to be aware that it exists. You need to be also supportive and try to help who is choosing this choice, and to for being fair for the whole world. Yeah.
Absolutely. Anyone else? Andresa, do you have any advice? Or did you answer already? I can't remember.
Um, well, actually, I don't know that maybe we should have this topic in our curriculum. Just as Mayara said, we we don't have to love everybody. Don't have to love, but has to know that role exists and role is important. Um, yes, I agree with everything that you said.
That's okay. Thank you. I just before we do a, I think we are going to move to the end. Amber, is that okay? Yeah. Just I want to say that next cafe will be our birthday, and yes, we have a 2 years project. I'm really excited about this cafe. I think everybody should come to our party, our video conference party, and I will do a vegan cake in Brazil if anyone would like to come here and get a piece. But if you couldn't, I recommend that you do also a cake for you to celebrate it. And I just want to say it before I forget. So yeah, sorry, Amber.
Right. And also, happy birthday to Dr. Joy Mugambi, who normally supports our cafe on Twitter and sometimes in the chat. Today is her birthday, so we wish you a very special birthday and many more to come.
Yeah.
To just to go back to the question, the advice that I would give to myself is to follow your passion, because this is the thing about rural. You kind of find this really interesting thing, and then you discover that actually not that many people are interested in it anyway. Then you end up being the only crazy person who is in the Amazon on your elective by yourself. Sometimes you start to question, like, oh, actually, am I making the right decision? But you know, you're walking the path less traveled, and sometimes that means doing things differently and on your own. And you will make mistakes, but there are lots of very friendly people, especially in the Rural Cafe community, who will support you. So keep doing the crazy things that you do. If you guys have any closing comments, we've come to the end of our cafe. So any final thoughts?
Just thank you, Amber, for holding this cafe, and thank you for all that participated and who joined us on the social media. And we should keep discussing it. And thank you so much. It's always good to have a mate or a coffee with you.
Yeah, thanks guys for including me in this chat as well. It's the first time I've met you guys. I've known Amber for a while, but it's been nice to be part of it. Finally, I've been wanting to join this, so it's really nice to meet you guys. Thank you.
It was really nice to meet. Um, I just have a question that where is Gosda from? I didn't catch the first presentation. Ghosty. Ghosty. I don't know
Yes,
how to say.
yeah, Gözde. I'm originally from
Ghosted.
Turkey, but
Uh,
I'm going to university. I'm a medical student at Swansea University, same university as Amber went to.
okay. So it was really nice. Um, I hope we can join another editions, and and maybe we can blow out the candles in the next cafe. Yes, prepare your cupcakes or cakes. And I really enjoyed this time. The time flew. Okay.
All right. Thank you all so much for participating and sharing your thoughts and experiences. And it was quite nice to have doctors who are just out of medical school as well. I think that brought quite a unique perspective. Hopefully, we'll have some comments from uh, medical student teachers and young doctor trainers as well to help give us some more perspective. So see you guys next month for our next cafe. Make sure you've got your cake and your candles ready to celebrate our 2-year project. After the cafe, I'll send out a quick survey trying to make sure that we're giving a good quality cafe and ways of improving. So if you click on the link in our Facebook page, it will take you to the survey. It's a very quick survey just to help us improve. All right, see you guys next month. Bye.